In the noisy arena of political debate, discussions about education often get stuck on the same tired talking points: curriculum wars, teachers' unions, and funding formulas. But what if the most significant barrier to a child's learning isn't a book, but a lack of clean clothes? This video breaks down a powerful moment in a congressional hearing where the conversation was forcefully shifted from abstract political battles to the harsh, tangible realities that millions of students face every single day. Let's look at the key exchange that reveals everything.
I just want to be clear. I'm gonna go to the end real quick because I know that was brought up. Critical race theory, is that typically taught K through 12, yes or no?
No.
Okay, all right, so we can stop with the nonsense because K through 12 was not teaching critical race theory, at least in this country. I can't talk about what happens in other countries, but in our country, K through 12 is not learning critical race theory, just for those that are unfamiliar. In addition to that, we just heard about AFT and what they're advocating for. And I know that there was a comment that you made as relates to discipline. And how that's something AFT should be advocating for so that teachers can be safer. Is that correct? Am I characterizing what you said correctly?
I believe that both the NEA and the AFT should endorse policies that keep educators safe. Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you a quick question. Actually, I would like for all three of you to answer this question. It's just a yes or no. We'll start at this end. When you were growing up and going through school, did you ever have to go through an active shooter drill? Yes or no?
No.
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 Oh, okay. All right. So can we agree that guns being kept out of schools may be one of those things that could keep not only teachers safe, but also students safe? Yes or no?
Yes.
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 Okay. Thank you. So I do want to touch on a few things that Ms. Ocasio-Cortez talked about, because I don't really know the breadth of your understanding or experiences, but to give a little clarity to the district that I come from, 20% of my district live at or below poverty. And I do come from an urban district. I do have a majority minority district. I know that we've talked about DEI and diversity. And I find that when I'm here, I am constantly fighting to make sure that I can break through the noise and the stereotypes that exist around not only my kiddos in my district, but just my constituents. And one of the things that maybe some of you have never experienced, I don't know, is the fact that one of the leading reasons that students in my district don't show up to school is because they are poor, because some of them are homeless. We found that there were children that didn't go to school because they didn't have clean clothes. That is something that certain people don't have to worry about. And they found that if they brought in washing machines so that kids wouldn't make fun of them because they had clean clothes, that they would show up. These are things that maybe in a more affluent district, they may not need money for. So while one of my colleagues talked about how much investment has to go into some of these school districts in the inner city, I do want to make it clear that there are different obstacles that my kiddos deal with. In addition to the fact that I practiced criminal defense work prior to coming into the legislative realm. And in my district, I have the highest incarcerated zip codes in the entire state. What that means is that sometimes I have children that go home and they don't have parents to go home to. Or if they are going home to parents, their parents may be involved in things that aren't necessarily the best things for kids to be around. And so, as it's already been stated, sometimes the safest space is at school for some of these children. And what is so annoying to me is that we debate whether or not we will invest in our futures. As far as I'm concerned, there is no better investment than in our children. Because if we are going to make sure that this country continues on, it's not gonna start by investing in people that look like me or of my age. It starts with making sure that there's a foundation. And I just wanna say that I am thankful for those teachers that decided to go in even when they were under-resourced, even given of their own resources, to make it happen. I lost teachers in my district during the pandemic because they literally risked their lives in the midst of a pandemic to show up because they love those kids that much. Because I can tell you, the pay is not there. Teachers aren't getting rich. Maybe professors, but not teachers. And so the fact is, I've talked to my school districts. They were able to take advantage of the extra money that was given to them, but guess what? They still had gaps that they needed to fill. And the reason that I brought up gun violence is, number one, it's a safety issue, but also as it relates to the mental health. Children nowadays know where they need to go in case somebody comes in. They're looking for the closet. That is no way for kids in America to live. So we need to make sure that we put kids first. Thank you so much, and with that, I will.
The strategy on display here is a masterclass in reframing the entire debate. It begins with a swift, decisive move to neutralize a common political distraction. By asking a simple yes or no question about critical race theory in K-12 schools, the questioner immediately dismisses it as a nonsense issue, clearing the floor for what she views as the real crisis. The next series of questions about active shooter drills is strategically brilliant. It's not a policy question, it's a generational one. The unanimous no from the witnesses instantly establishes a stark contrast between their own childhoods and the fear-soaked reality of today's students. This isn't about ideology, it's about safety, a universal value that cuts through partisan lines. The core of her argument, however, is built on providing crucial context that is often missing from these high-level discussions. When she describes her district, where 20% of the population lives in poverty and children miss school for lack of clean clothes, she is making a profound point. The problem isn't just about the school. It's about the ecosystem surrounding the school. The mention of installing washing machines is a powerful, concrete example that illustrates a problem more effectively than any statistic ever could. It forces the audience to confront a level of poverty and need that is uncomfortable but essential to understanding the resource gap. She identifies two primary themes. First, that systemic issues like poverty and community violence are fundamentally educational issues. And second, that a school is often the only safe space for a child, serving a function far beyond academic instruction. This moves the conversation beyond the hearing room and into the heart of public policy. The debate is no longer about whether one school district gets slightly more money than another. It's about what that money is actually used for. Think of public funding like a hospital's budget. While an affluent suburban hospital might debate acquiring the latest MRI machine, a hospital in a crisis zone is focused on having enough bandages and antibiotics. The argument being made is that inner-city schools are often in a state of crisis management. They are dealing with the downstream effects of homelessness, food insecurity, and mass incarceration. The investment they require isn't just for textbooks and smartboards, but for counselors, social workers, and basic necessities that allow a child to show up ready and able to learn. This is an argument that public investment in children, especially the most vulnerable, isn't just a cost, but the most critical investment a society can make in its own future. So, what are the key takeaways from all of this? First, effective political communication doesn't just win an argument. It changes the entire premise of the conversation, moving it from abstract talking points to lived human experience. Second, the greatest challenges in education often lie outside the classroom walls. Poverty, hunger, and violence are barriers to learning that must be addressed with the same urgency as curriculum standards. And finally, the discussion around school funding is meaningless without understanding the vastly different obstacles that students in different socioeconomic environments face every single day. This ultimately leads to a fundamental question. Is the goal of our education system simply to teach, or is it to give every child a genuine opportunity to succeed? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this analysis helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video.